So I'm their Senior Vice President of Community Development. Effectively, the layman's terms for what that means and what it means to run Chesapeake Community Development is that we handle all of their real estate. So everything from group homes that they own for the people that they serve, all the way to their kind of mixed-use projects and development like Easton Crossing. I got involved with the Arc during COVID, and it was really around welcoming them into Easton. So they were in the beginning stages of Port Street Commons coming online. They had purchased that property in 2021, and it was at a time where it was difficult, I think, even though the Arc had services here on the shore already and in Easton, it was a difficult time to become extremely present in a community because we didn't have events, right? We didn't have, everything was essentially shut down, everything was virtual. And so I became involved with the organization at that time to kind of help them become a little bit more present and just really get involved in other projects in town. And so really the first project, new project that we worked on together was the Primrose over on Aurora Street. When we purchased the property, we knew it was a historic property. We knew it had, to be totally frank, it didn't meet our kind of expectations for the way apartments should be set up and just the quality of the apartments. And we had worked with the town to look at, could we potentially increase the number of units on the property? How would that effectively work? And when it came down to after talking to neighbors and talking to historic district and the like, was just, we're going to keep the units effectively as they are, but they still don't meet our kind of requirements for quality, not even close. And so the first phase was we knocked down, so that property has 7 units in the historic mansion part of it, and then it has 2 outbuildings, and those 2 outbuildings have 3 additional units. We knocked down the 2 outbuildings, and those are being rebuilt essentially in the same footprint, slightly larger units, same number of units though. So those will be done the first week in March, and then we'll welcome tenants into those units come April or May. And then phase 2, which is probably not until 2026 or so, even early 27, will be the renovation of the main mansion building there. There's Port Street Commons, like I said, we purchased it in 2021. We were complete in the fall of 2024, had tenants moving in by December. And it's a really neat, very different concept, not just for our organization, but just for the shore in general, to have a headquarters, or effectively a geographic headquarters, paired right on the same building as affordable housing, right? And so it's a really neat, I think, kind of use of space. And I think to your point, the proof of concept for us has been very strong so far, right? To the point where we are just starting conversations around kind of where do we do that next as we grow as an organization. Not in Easton, obviously, but other geographic places. And so, I think that conversation has been, fulfilled because of the success we've seen at Port Street. So I'll give you I think perfect example. We had, so when we do affordable units, we have a lottery system to try and make it a bit more equitable. And the lottery, has very few preferences. One of the preferences is that the tenants work in the town that the housing exists in, right? So if they work in Easton, that gives them a preference in the lottery, specifically because in our minds, we're trying to help the town kind of pull its employees back into where they actually should be living, like near where they work. So Easton Crossing is about 6.5 acres, one about 2-acre parcel, one about 4.5 acres, that the rail trail kind of bisects right along Brookleton County. Now, Purdue was very interested in selling, so they also own the parcel on Needwood, which is Silo Court, right? And they were very interested in selling both parcels together, right? Understandably so. We purchased it from Purdue, and it's really been a fun exercise for us to work with the town and work with the neighbors. I think everyone pretty well aware we've had multiple community meetings throughout the process. So Easton's code allows us to have a little over 270 units. The new state law would allow us to do 350 actually, but we're only doing 123. And so over 6 acres, it's really well spread out. We're actually giving over 2 acres back as public space. And so we'll still manage it, we'll still own it, but it'll be open to the community. Our plan is to actually take down the current rail trail fencing to kind of open it up more and really create more public space to connect it to the trail. We have dog walking trails and the like that'll all be open as well. Our storm water is actually a recreational pond. So we will strategically place, so for example, the first building that we're building, which we just call Building 509, is only 15 units, but the ground floor is completely accessible, and it has a group home for people that we serve kind of built right into that ground floor. The 4th floor also has artist lofts, so it's the first building being built thinking around Easton's arts and entertainment district. So how do we think about what artists need, especially those that may need some affordable housing, and creating plumbing and space for them to work. So we do kind of thoughtfully build toward that. All of the buildings are elevator served. And so we're also thinking about, how do we, especially in a place like Talbot County, how do we make sure that people that want to age in place can? Right, and creating apartments that are easy to move around. And so, I think it's hard for us to say that, we don't really designate huge percentages specifically for the disability community, but we just make sure all the apartments are created in a way that even people with kind of light disabilities would be able to, I think, make a safe home there. The first building, 509, is expected to open December 2027. And then it phases from there. And so the easy way to think about it is if we're looking at effectively 4 buildings that are fully in the planning stages with residential, the first building will open December 2027, and then we'll have another building opening up about every 6 months. A lot of people ask us kind of what's different about us as a developer, right? Why are we doing this? What makes us different? And I think there's 2 things mainly, right? So one is, and the 2 things that I'm pretty proud of, one is that we don't build affordable units, right? And I think that's a huge distinction between us and other developers. We have a ratio for the project, but every unit's the same quality, right? Finishing's the same, everything's the same. And so, if you're in a market rate unit and I'm in an affordable unit and we become friends, we're not going to go, you're not going to know anything unless someone shares, right? And I think the other, and I share this with the community a lot when we talk with them, we still have the original duplex from 50 years ago, and we just don't sell our housing and we don't sell our projects. So most developers, their business plan is build, fill, and sell, right? And then go to the next project. Yeah. And we just don't do it. So, from our standpoint, when we enter community meetings or we enter conversations with neighbors, we have to approach those conversations as neighbors because we're going to hold on to this property for 50 more years and we're going to manage it ourselves. And I think that has been very helpful for us in terms of the trust of the town that we're here to stay effectively. But it's also, it makes those conversations with the neighbors that much more fruitful because we have to listen, because the only way that retail is successful is if I know that the people that live a block away are going to support it.